Hi, I'm Aditya and welcome to my coffee podcast. Today we have Sathya Didi with us. She is a specialty coffee professional who works in coffee processing, cupping, and roast development for the last 4 years at Harley Estate. She has been working in R&D and specialty coffee processing. She focuses on fun and innovative fermentation methods using yeast, bacteria, and native cultures to create unique coffee flavors and improve cup quality. I am going to ask her some really interesting questions so we can learn more about coffee together. Let's start. My first question is, can you tell us about yourself? Can you also tell us about your estate and how it all started? What makes your estate special compared to others?
Hi Aditya, I'm Sathya from Harley Estate and I've been working deeply in specialty coffee processing, research and quality as well as roasting for the last few years. My focus has always been understanding how fermentation, microbiology and processing can completely transform the cup profile of coffee. As for Harley Estate was built around 18600. It is one of the oldest estate in the Manjarabad region and it is run by the fifth generation planters. And Harley Estate, it's not just farming, it is a flavor craftsmanship. We always work closely from selection of fruits to process and drying and experimenting with controlled fermentations using native microorganisms or commercial microbes and different processing techniques to create unique flavor profiles. What makes our estate unique is the amount of attention we give to post harvesting processing. So we don't just produce coffee, we design flavors through fermentation, science, drying methods by controlling and careful lot separation as well. We combine both traditional farming knowledge with more experimental processing methods to push Indian specialty coffee to a higher level.
My second question is, what are the biggest challenges you face on the farm today, like climate, labor, pests, or coffee prices?
The biggest challenges today are definitely the climate, unpredictable climate, and labor shortage, rising production cost, and the fluctuation or unstable coffee prices. Weather pattern has become more inconsistent lately. Sometimes rain arrives too early or too late, which affects our flowering cycle, cherry development, and drying as well. Labor is another huge challenges because of during the harvesting and processing we required skilled workers, especially for the specialty coffee where we need to pick only the selective ripe fruits, like based on the sugar content of the fruits and etc. At the same time, cost of fertilizers and farm maintenance and processing keeps increasing while market prices don't always reflect the effort we do to produce the good high quality coffee.
How has climate change affected your coffee crops over the years?
Climate change has changed almost everything about coffee farming. Before, seasons were more predictable, but now we are experiencing irregular rainfall, higher temperatures, unexpected heat stress, sometimes excessive moisture as well, excessive moisture during drying periods, or unseasonal rainfall during the harvesting season. These changes directly affect flowering cycle, cherry maturation, and it also favors the condition for pest occurrences and disease as well, and also it affects the cup quality. Even fermentation behaves differently because temperature plays a major role in the microbial activity.
Is it difficult to keep your coffee quality consistent every year?
Yes, consistency is one of the hardest thing in specialty coffee because coffee is a agriculture product. Every harvest is influenced by climate, soil moisture, temperature, and even microbial activity. Our job is to reduce variation as much as possible through strict cherry selection, like the harvesting cherries based on the sugar or bricks percentage of the fruits, and selecting from individual blocks or individual varietal, etc., and controlled fermentation, careful drying, and detailed quality analysis too. Even then, every season has its own character. Consistency doesn't mean making every coffee taste identical, but it means maintaining a high standard while respecting the seasonal differences.
What is one thing people outside the coffee industry don't understand about coffee farming?
Most of the people don't realize how much work happens before coffee reaches their cup. Coffee is one of the most labor intensive crop. A farmer can spend an entire year managing the plants, harvesting the cherries, and carefully processing and drying, but and protecting it careful. But if even a one small mistake during harvesting or drying can ruin month of work. So people often see coffee just as a beverage, but behind every cup there's a farming science, craftsmanship, and a lot of risk in it.
When I visited the Harley Estate, you showed me many coffee processes like honey, natural, washed, viney, anaerobic fermentation, carbonic maceration, and barrel aged coffee. Can you please explain these processes for my listeners?
Absolutely, Aditya. Each process changes how the sugars, acids, and microorganisms interact with the beans, which directly affects the flavor. In processing, there are three general categories which followed everywhere in the world. One is washed process, second is honey processed or pulp sun dried, third is the natural process. So first, wash process. In it, after the harvesting, we are going to manually sort the fruits, remove all the any greens or other materials in it, and then we're going to wash it, pass it through the siphon to remove the floaters and the good density fruits. Once the floaters and oil removed, the good density fruits goes into the pulper. Then fruits get pulped. Pulping is nothing but we are going to remove the skin of the fruits and then fermenting it to fermentation acts as a catalyst, and it plays a major role in the quality of the coffee, where the most of the sugars and acids are breakdown into different flavor compounds. And wash process creates a very clean, bright, transparent cup profile that highlights the origin characters and the quality. In a honey process, what we do is we going to pulp the coffee beans and dry the beans along with the mucilage on it. So in the honey process, there are three categories. One is yellow honey, red honey, and black honey. All these three honey process are based on the amount of mucilage we leave it on the beans. And this honey process adds more sweetness, body, and fruity complexity compared to the washed coffee. So third is the natural process. Here the whole cherry, that is the whole fruit, is dried along with the mucilage, skin, everything. During drying, the sugars from the fruit influences the coffee, producing heavier body and intense fruit forward flavors. So apart from this, there are few other experimental fermentation process. One is the anaerobic fermentation, where coffee is fermented in sealed oxygen free tanks. By controlling oxygen and microbial activity, we can create a highly expressive flavors like tropical fruit notes and unique acidity structures. And carbonic maceration. Carbonic maceration inspired by winemaking. In carboning maceration, what we are going to do is whole cherries are fermented in a carbon dioxide rich environment. This enhances aromatic complexity, silky texture, and layered fruit flavors. Viney process. In viney process, this process we extend the fermentation to create a wine-like flavor characteristics such as berry notes, deeper sweetness, and complex acidity. And at last, there is a process called barrel aging. Here, green coffee is rested inside sprit or wine barrels to absorb aroma compounds from the wood and previous contents. This creates unique flavor notes like vanilla, oak, spices, or whiskey like characters.
Which coffee processing method gives you the most control over quality?
Wash process gives the most control because it removes most external fruit influences and allows us to evaluate the bean itself very clearly. It is easier to maintain consistency and identify defects in the wash process coffee. However, controlled anaerobic fermentation also offers incredible precision when managed properly. But the challenge is that advanced fermentation require extremely careful monitoring of temperature, pH, microbial activity, and the drying conditions as well.
How much of the coffee's flavor is decided at the farm and how much happens during roasting?
I would say the farm creates the foundation of flavor and roasting reveals or enhances it. The genetics, soil, climate, ripeness, and processing probably determined around 70 to 80 percentage of the final cup character. Roasting then shapes balance, sweetness, body, and clarity. A greater roaster cannot create a good quality from poor green coffee, but a poor roast can definitely hide the potential of excellent coffee.
What does high quality coffee mean to you?
For me, high quality coffee is coffee that is clean, expressive, and intentional. Coffee should have clarity of flavors, sweetness, balance, and memorable sensory experience. But again, beyond taste, quality also means consistency, careful farming practices, ethical production, and attention to detail at every stage from farm to the cup.
What challenges do coffee farmers and estates face when selling coffee?
One of the biggest challenges is market volatility. Farmers invest heavily into producing quality coffee, but prices are often unstable and sometimes disconnected from the production cost. Specialty coffee requires buyers to understand processing, quality differences, and seasonal variation. Logistics, export process, and finding buyers who truly value quality are also major challenges for the estate.
What should roasters look out for when sourcing coffee beans from estates?
Roasters should look beyond just cupping scores. They should understand the farm practices, processing, consistency, drying methods, and how traceability and how transparent the producer is. Building the long term relationship with farmers is very important because it creates trust and better quality over time and consistency between the roaster and the planter. Good sourcing is about partnership, not just purchasing coffee.
What mistakes do buyers usually make when choosing coffee? And what should beginners check before buying coffee beans from a farm?
A common mistake is focusing only on the trendy processing methods or like very high cupping scores without understanding balance and the drinkability. Beginners should check freshness, processing details, moisture, stability, cleanliness in the cup, whether the coffee suits their roasting or brewing style. And it is also important to ask how the coffee was dried and stored, because post harvest handling affects the shelf life and the consistency of the coffee.
How would you explain coffee flavors to a child?
Coffee flavors. I would say coffee flavors are like fruit juices, surprises hidden inside a seed. Some coffees taste like chocolate, and some like berries, flowers, or even caramel. Not not because those are added things, but because natural farming and processing created those flavor naturally inside the coffee bean.
And my last question is, what advice would you give me as I start my journey as a youngest roaster?
As for the youngest roaster, stay curious and never stop tasting. Coffee is a field where learning never ends. Focus on fundamentals deeply: green coffee, roasting, brewing, and sensory skills. But don't chase trends too quickly. Build your palate, ask questions, and spend time understanding producers or farmers and farms. Most importantly, respect every stage of the coffee, because great coffee is always a collaboration between farmer, processor, roaster, and brewer.
Thank you, Sathya Didi, for joining my podcast and sharing your coffee knowledge with us. I learned so many new things today, and I hope my listeners learned something too. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to follow on my coffee journey and listen to more fun talks with me, and see you in the next podcast.